Well, Visit Mammoth held a meeting last week with Mammoth Lakes Tourism Director John Erdy speaking to a large crowd. Sierra Wave Media's Rob Gill was on hand.
So I want to thank everybody for coming out here tonight, and I just want to give a very brief situation analysis of kind of where we've been. Don't want to dwell too much on the past, want to look forward, but within the fiscal year, our fiscal year runs July 1 through June 30, and last spring, summer, and fall was very strong. In fact, it was our third record summer in a row. So we had a great spring, summer, we had a great summer, fall season last year, which fortunately gave us a TOT cushion of about $400,000 going into the winter. Now, I think we all knew how the winter went. Challenge there was obviously the snowfall, the lack of snowfall. And right now, with the poor winter, TOT is actually down just shy of about 14%. So when you're looking at about $11.5 million budget, that's a fair amount of shortfall. And what that means with Mammoth Lakes Tourism is back in December, when we looked at the fact that we weren't anticipating the snow coming in, we were very proactive. And if the TOT doesn't come in, our budget doesn't come in. So we actually went through proactively in December, and we cut about $300,000 out of our budget, anticipating that the months of winter would be a potential of about a 30% shortfall. When I calculated the numbers today and looked at what a 14% shortfall for the year would be, it came out to $303,000. So we cut $300,000, so I got to find $3,000 somewhere. But at least we were proactive with that, and we didn't get caught spending too much money and then having to suffer at the end. On the TBID side, because of the challenges of the winter, we also were down. We were down 22% in what we projected for the TBID. 22% is about $700,000, so it's a fair amount of money. We anticipate that April should be okay. May is typically pretty flat. And then June, I think, could be the kickoff for our fourth record summer in a row. So very excited about the forecast for the summer, talking with different lodging properties. Bookings look up, our air bookings look up. So right now, I think we're setting up nicely for that. Now, one thing that's important here is due to those TOT shortfalls, the TBID is really one of the major reasons we're going to be able to even have money for summer marketing. You know, because of the fact that when we go into the winter, most of our money is spent in advance of the winter. And when we're able to prepay the bookings for the winter, it's hard when you have to cut $300,000 out of your budget. So because of the TBID, we actually will have a strong funding for our summer marketing efforts.
Well, Bennett Kessler filed this story. At a recent Bishop School Board meeting, more than 24 parents and teachers showed up. They had heard that the board might get rid of what's called the dual immersion program, which involves classes that teach in both English and Spanish. Now, with a recommendation from the elementary school principal to keep the program, the board agreed, but the agenda item did cause parents and others to stand firm for the dual language classes. Principal Heather Carr said there are periodic reviews of different programs to make sure they are running effectively. She said a review of dual immersion found, quote, some effectiveness to the program, but there is room for improvement, end quote. Now, Carr said that in the past, Hispanic students were not learning English as well as they might. She said the school changed teaching models, and now they are seeing improvements in English skills and academic gains. Carr had recommended keeping the dual language course alive. Now, the principal said in kindergarten through 5th grades, there are 156 students who participate in dual immersion, both English-speaking and Spanish-speaking students. Carr said speaking a second language benefits both groups. Wider studies have found academic benefit from language skills. Stanford Graduate School of Education and San Francisco Unified School District conducted a 10-year study with 18,000 students, and they found that English-only classes caused Spanish-speaking students to excel early, but by middle school, the dual immersion students caught up or surpassed their counterparts. Now, parents feared that the Bishop School Board might cut dual immersion for less than honorable motives. One parent, Sue Tonelli, said the school gave parents a survey to fill out on the program with only 3 days to turn it in. She also said parents feel the school board had, quote, targeted dual immersion, end quote. Now, Tonelli spoke of the values of the program for her daughter in learning a second language and gaining an understanding of a different culture and a different part of the community. You can see more on this story on our website, sierrawave.net. And Bennett Kessler also filed this report. The Bishop Police Department announced last week that they would re-examine the case of a missing person from Bishop. Jenny Wyckoff, age 90, had walked away from High Sierra Manor Rest Home in 1996 and was never found. Sierra Way Media asked Bishop Police Chief Chris Carter if the request for further investigation by Ms. Wyckoff's family might be related to the recent discovery of what are believed to be human remains in Mono County. Now, Chief Carter said the family approached him several weeks before discovery of those remains. He said Wyckoff's relatives said that the unexplained disappearance of Ms. Wyckoff has been, quote, something that has plagued the family for many years, end quote. Chief Carter said Ms. Wyckoff has one living son. Her daughter died a few years ago, and the grandchildren were recently going through some of the daughter's things and found files related to the case. Now, Chief Carter said the family is aware that other cold cases from around the country have been solved through new science, and, quote, they simply asked if we could maybe take a look at that possibility, end quote. The chief said the Bishop Police Department is in the process of working with the National Missing and Unidentified Persons System to try to obtain a DNA sample from the surviving son in Idaho. Chief Carter explained the DNA would be entered into the database, quote, on the outside chance that we might get a match to any found remains that have been entered into the system, end quote. Chief Carter had said that liability issues involving High Sierra Manor had possibly caused some to be unwilling to talk when Wyckoff disappeared. It is hoped anyone with information will now come forward. Police are also working with those who investigated the disappearance back in 1996. Now, the police press release on this case said that Jenny Wyckoff was always considered to be a missing person, but that the possibility exists that, quote, there were other circumstances surrounding her disappearance, end quote. You can contact the Bishop Police Department if you have any information that might help this investigation, and that phone number is 760-873-5866. We'll be back with more news.